welcome everybody back to the Inside Our Galaxy podcast. I'm your host, Eric Hernandez, as always. Well, it's happened. It's finally over. The Galaxy season has ended after a horrible week of games. You have one against Seattle where that ended 2-1, last minute winner for Seattle. And then, of course, you had the disaster of a game against Minnesota, which ended in a 5-2 loss. So, yeah, we're going to talk about those two games and give our thoughts, give our opinions about that. And, and of course, we still do have a couple games to talk about, which we do have one this week, which is against RSL. We're going to talk about that. What the Galaxy are just going to be playing for, which is, basically pride at this rate. But, yeah, we got some things to talk about, got some things to, vent out after those horrible performances. So, yeah, this should be a good conversation regardless. But, glad you're all here. And, of course, with me, as always, is my co-host, LA Galaxy Central. How you doing, man?
Lovely, right? It couldn't have been a better week if we tried to make it one, right?
Honestly. And, again, going into this week, we said last episode, too, we were like, we were curious to see what this episode was going to be, whether it was going to be us being like, holy shit, we still have a chance. Are we going to be alive at this point? Can we squeeze into the playoffs, or are we going to be sad and just ultimately just be disappointed in what happened? And of course, that was the second option. Right now, we're not too happy. What a weekend, I guess. What a week in general, just of disappointment that we have to talk about. But at the same time, I don't know if you feel the same way, but you're kind of happy that it's kind of over in a sense, that you're not have to deal with these, the stress of trying to make the playoffs, I guess. And it's like, I don't know, there's a lot of weird emotions to it. But yeah, I don't know if you felt the same way just after like Minnesota, where you're just like, all right, then like I'm sad, but at the same time, I'm glad it's over. You know what I mean?
I don't know about relief, but I always wanted to make the playoffs. That was always an idea of mine. But yeah, you are kind of right too. It's like we were never really going to go far. This team just from the beginning was never it. And, now we just got to play out the last two games and try to move forward with that.
Yeah, basically. Just got to play out those last two games and see what happens there. But, of course, before we get into those last two games, or at least the one coming up this week, we do have to talk about our two previous games. So let's start off with Seattle. Seattle midweek game at Seattle. Of course, for the Galaxy, it was never easy to go play at Seattle. We haven't beaten Seattle in 10 straight games, now 11 with that one. And, honestly, like, we kind of knew that game that it was probably going to be a loss. At best, we were going to get a result, and we thought we were going to get a result, right? Because it was 1-1 till the final moments of the game, and then boom, throw in header, or I don't know if it was a header, but point is Roldan gets the ball, he scores the last minute winner for Seattle, and yeah, we dropped points there in again embarrassing fashion in that way. But how'd you feel about Seattle? What were your thoughts about that Wednesday night game?
Yeah, I did say it was going to be a loss. I was not expecting to get anything from that game, but, we put up a decent fight at least. It was okay. We were in the game for a while. We came back, but, again, the same mistakes that this team has been making, it repeats himself, like giving up an early goal, giving up cheap goals. Now we're giving up goals at the end of games, and, pretty disappointing overall to not even get a tie out of that game. We were very close, and honestly, I thought with the way the second half was going, both teams kind of just deserved a point. No one really deserved to win, but you make a very easy, simple mistake at the end of the game, and that's how you drop points. And I respect the fight. I respect some of the decisions that were made by Greg Vanney, but yeah, that's a point lost, and after that, it was pretty disappointing for sure.
No, honestly, yeah, like I agree with you. It's like it was kind of one of those games where I thought it was going to end in a tie, and you're right. I felt like that was just sort of the moment where for both teams it was like, they just deserve the point, move on. But yeah, again, simple mistakes again for this Galaxy team. That's always been the, the problem always, right? It's simple mistakes. The first goal you get, which I don't know if it's really a mistake, but Douglas Costa, he keeps the ball in play. Aude isn't set to get the ball or get the ball away from the attacker, and then that ultimately just, causes a goal. And then you have the throw in where it was just, I don't know. It's like, I guess good throw in by Seattle, but also like just bad defense by the Galaxy at the same time as well. But yeah, honestly, like disappointing. And again, as much as we said that was going to happen, that we were going to lose, you still don't want to lose in that way. You don't want to lose in the last minute. And, a last minute goal was great for Seattle, but us being on the other side of it was just the worst part of it, right? So, yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, I felt disappointed. It was pretty bad, but I don't know. I mean, that's just how it was. It's like, I don't think the Galaxy played bad. I don't think they played, too, they did what they could, but, last minute mistakes is always what costs us.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty shocking though because when I used to play AYSO when I was like 8 or 10 years old, I used to play at the park like 5 or 10 minutes away from me, and we would practice there how to defend throw-ins. Like we would do throw-ins in the box, and it's a very simple thing. It should be a very easy thing. Teams should not give up throw-ins, goals on throw-ins at any single level, let alone MLS, which is the top professional level in America. It's just like to do that at the last kick of the game is just shocking. Really, I don't understand, man. Seriously, it's like how can you let that happen?
Right. And before I get to my next thought, I'm going to put on a hat. Jesus. I was going to rock with no hat today, but I guess, got to do it because it feels so weird. But anyways, back to our thoughts, I guess. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, it's really shocking. It just is. Like every time when you just lose in the last minute, no matter for what sport, what team, or whatever the case may be, it's just like, it's always just a shocker and a factor where you're just like, man, like, how could we let this happen? Whether you played well or you played okay or you managed the time well and managed the game well, which I don't think like it was a management issue, it wasn't a player issue or anything. Like performance wise, it was just again the simple mistakes that the Galaxy always do, and I don't know. It's like you think that we would figure it out by now, right? That to eliminate these simple mistakes, but we just don't. And again, they cost us, and I don't know. It's like you can't really blame on the players. You can't blame on the performance, but you just have to blame that moment. You know what I mean? Like that's just how it is. It's like it's just that one moment.
I mean, look, I said it before a few episodes ago. There's 4 times in football that are the worst time to concede. As soon as the game starts, right after you score, right before halftime, and right before the game ends. Like, the Galaxy have done all 4 of those things in a short amount of time. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. It's unbelievable. It is. And again,
they did 2 in the same game also. In the Seattle game, they conceded
they
pretty
did
early
2.
in the game and the last kick.
Yeah.
And then in Minnesota, they conceded right at half. It's like, seriously. And then like they conceded early on in Portland too. It's like, seriously, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and honestly, it's like so much of the defensive issues that we've had with this team and who we're running with, right? So, yeah, I mean, again, it's like it's crazy to think about that, and again, and that's just the thing about sports. It's always just the moments, right? Like it's always whenever in the right moment. It doesn't matter how. Sometimes it doesn't matter how you play. It's just the fact that if you get those moments right, and for Seattle, that was one of those games. It was just getting the right moment and getting the right opportunities. But I mean, I don't know. It's like it's just a massive disappointment. Like I don't know if I have any points of like emphasis in this game that made it seem like, oh, like if we did this different, we would have won the game, or if we did this different, it's like, it would have been a different outcome. It's like, no, it's just, it was the moments that you can't really control that just happen in the nature of the game. And, what more can you really do? You can't really do much about it. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Yeah, but anyways, do you have any more points, or do you want to talk about players right now?
I think we can move on now.
All right, yeah, let's talk about some of the players in this game. Gonna be difficult to remember the lineup because it's already been almost like a week. But if I recall, in the defense, you had Bond. I believe you started out in the left, which was interesting. Which I think that's something that you've always wanted. In your center backs, you had Yoshida. You had,
and I still want. You can add.
Yeah, that. and you still want. You had in your center backs, you had Yoshida, you had Tony Alfaro, which is another player that we've sort of been asking for too. And I think at right back, did we start Cuevas at right back?
It was Leerdam.
Leerdam? Okay, yeah. So we started Leerdam at right back. So that was your defense rolling in for the game. You saw some changes, which is something that you kind of alluded to last episode. Was when are we going to get some changes in the defense? You had 2 players that are 2 players in that lineup that you normally don't see, but. Yeah, I mean, how'd you feel about the defense? What were some of your standouts, I guess?
Well, it wasn't 5 or it wasn't 3, so better, I guess, you know?
True.
There's that, but yeah, I respect Greg Vanny a lot for making those changes because we were calling for it when we were conceding 3 goals every game in Austin and Portland and against Minnesota. It's like we needed to change so badly in defense, and I get it. Right now we don't have the players, and that's something we need to address in this upcoming transfer window, both in MLS and outside of MLS. But, you know, Greg Vanny made some changes. He brought in Julian Aude, who I thought was really good. I know he had that one moment, but he couldn't really do anything about that, where I think he kicked the ball into Joao Paulo. That was just kind of unlucky a little bit. But overall, I think he looked really good. He looked like a natural left back. He looked like he had a lot to offer. He even had an assist, and we talked about his passing and crossing sort of being a little bit of an issue. Well, there's an assist for you, so that was really good. Alfaro, he was okay. Like, he wasn't that bad. He kind of did what we expected him to do, just be like this okay backup center back that can be decent depth. And the other guys, Yoshida, all right. Leerdam, not great. Bond, definitely not great. But, you know, I like the changes that we made, and I did respect it. And 2 goals is a little more respectable than what we've been doing lately. So, I mean, I guess you can kind of live with it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would agree. It's like, yeah, you got to see some changes, which I don't think, you know, anybody was really upset about those changes, right? But yeah, I mean, honestly, defense wasn't that, I guess, terrible. Like you said, 2 is better than 3 or 5 that we're going to talk about later. But, you know, it's, you know, it just was better, I guess. You know, obviously there were still some issues. Aude definitely was my standout as well. I think that he played. You know, you sort of alluded to, like, every time we talk about Aude is just like he's just a much better defender, and you got to see that in this game, despite the goal that he let up, which again you know wasn't his fault, couldn't really do much in that, and then also just the attacking ability as well, right? Like, you got to see the assist. I think his crossing was just a lot better in that game, and you know that's sort of something that we've been wanting to see, is, you know, because that's how we play our fullbacks, right? It's just like, you know, they need to be part of the offense as well. And I think Aude was part of the offense as well. And I think he did an okay job in that aspect. So, yeah, I mean, Aude was definitely my standout in this game. But other than that, you know, like you said, Alfaro played okay. Yoshida was okay as well. Leerdam, again, you know, I mean, I guess not the best performance, but at this rate, what else can you do, considering in that position, it's either him or Cuevas. So it's like, you know, for that side, it is what it is. But Aude was definitely my standout. I like what I saw from him. And, of course, you know, it is very interesting that in Minnesota, they didn't start him, which I think he deserved the start after this, you know, the Seattle game, which, again, we'll talk about later about Minnesota. But, yeah, I mean, of course, Aude definitely was my standout. Bond, you know, you got 2 goals scored on you. So, and I think one of them was preventable. I mean, honestly, both of them could have been preventable, I guess. But
on the first goal, Seattle scored off the corner kick right where the ball was like right at Bond. He dropped it somehow out of bounds, right? I have to rewatch it, but I think it might have been that one.
I think it was that one, yeah.
Yeah, that was really bad. That's why I kind of said like he didn't play very well, because that was very preventable.
Yeah, I mean, the first goal is definitely preventable, for sure. But yeah, I mean, of course, defense-wise, yeah, I think Aude was just my standout. But I mean, defense was okay, I guess. You know, like you said, 2 goals is way better than 3 or 4 or however many. You know, it's just so much better. But again, that only lasted for 1 game. We'll talk about Minnesota and how that was just atrocious. But yeah, I mean, that was defense. Any other points you want to talk about defense? Or should we move on to midfield? All right, let's move on into midfield. Again, no Ricky Puig in this game. Of course, we kind of expected that. I mean, Seattle, turf, him dealing with injuries. That wasn't going to be a good call for the Galaxy and for them to do that. It just wasn't going to work out for Ricky to play that game. So, yeah, I mean, you had, trying to think who was in that game. You had no Delgado, I believe, right? Because Delgado, I believe he was not playing because he had a concussion or was in concussion protocol, which I don't know when he got a concussion, how he got it, but he did. So you had Uri Russell, you had Cerrillo in there, I believe, and I think you had Fagundes in there as well, being part of that midfield.
Wasn't it Costa, though, I think?
Well, yeah, I guess Costa was playing more in the middle, so I guess, yeah, Costa was part of that midfield. But I mean, yeah, let's talk about it. How'd you feel about it? What were your thoughts about it?
I thought the midfield was just okay, kind of. Not great, maybe not horrible. Maybe more on the worst side than the good side, but I think they're a little bit respectable. I mean, Cedillo, I think, got a little bit too much hate for that game. Like, a lot of Galaxy fans were on him after that Seattle game. I don't honestly think it was deserved. I think he actually played pretty good. He did a really good job, and And maybe he wasn't great. He had some moments where he turned over the ball, some moments where he wasn't great. But I mean, still, he's a new player to this team. He came in during August. He's still a young player. So, I mean, I think he played all right. I think he's getting a little bit too much blame. But Uri Russell, I mean, I've had enough of it by now. You know, like Delgado's obviously out, so we have to put somebody in there. And Uri Russell is just not that guy for me. And we're gonna talk about this when we do our offseason preview. I think we need to go out and maybe use a spot on another midfielder, number 8, to back up Delgado, because I do not think Uri Russell is the guy. I think he's done a decent job stepping up. I mean, credit him. He has been ready. I don't think he expected to play this much, but still, I think our time with Uri Russell is dead. I don't think he should be playing this much, and you're kind of seeing it now. He's starting to play pretty poorly, and Douglas Costa, obviously, just great again. Really the only sort of life within this Galaxy team that game.
Yeah, definitely. Costa with that goal. Great first touch, by the way, for that goal. And just a great goal, honestly, just for Costa, right? He keeps, performing when we need him to. And yeah, I agree. I mean, Uri Rosell, again, I always say, like, he's good for what we're asking him for, but he's just not going to be this difference maker in the midfield. I mean, he's not Gaston Brugman, he's not Delgado, he's not Puig, he's not any of those guys, right? Like, that's going to make a difference in that midfield, like, no matter what. But you're just, he's just there, he's doing what he can, and yeah, I mean, that probably wasn't his best game, and Cerrillo, again, was okay for him. I don't think he played that bad either.
You know what I imagine? Imagine, like, Greg Vanney spoke to Uri Rosell just because he's Spanish, like, hey, I need you to play like Ricky Puig today. Like, just imagine him trying to play that role. Trying to play him just dribbling and making all these passes. That'd be, like, kind of funny.
Uri, you're Spanish, right? Yeah. All right, play like Ricky. Like, no, that'd be kind of funny though. But no, I mean, honestly, midfield was okay. I mean, again, Costa was just probably the standout in that game, and really, that's just it. He's the only life to the Galaxy, I guess. He was the only creative player on that team, and I don't think him distributing the passes weren't that bad either. To the offense, to the wingers, to Billy Sharp. But again, I guess just our opportunities just weren't fully there for the Galaxy. But yeah, I mean, honestly, midfield played okay. I don't think they did terrible in that aspect. But yeah, I mean, those were my final points. Do you have any other final points, or should we move on to the offense a bit?
Do you agree that Cedillo was a little bit overhated in the Galaxy community after that game? Like, I feel like he got a lot of blame, and is that really deserved? Because I don't know.
I don't think he played that bad. I didn't even see that much hate from Sergio. I mean, I guess maybe there was a group
in the
of people.
comment section. People were just kind of like, what is he doing? Why is he not marking Roldan on the throne? Which that throne was all Uri Rosell's fault, because who was it? Who got that flick on header? Whoever that was for Seattle, Uri Rosell should have been on them. That should have never happened.
I mean, respectfully, that was like 4 players around Roldan that could have marked him. So it's like, yeah, really, so it wasn't just on one person. It was literally whoever was near Roldan and whoever missed that mark. It's like you can't really blame anybody on that. That was just bad defense, regardless from the Galaxy, right? So I don't think you could blame that on one player. But yeah, I mean, honestly, Cerrillo played okay. I mean, maybe it wasn't his best game in a Galaxy uniform, but definitely for sure, if he did get hate, I think that was not deserved. Like
maybe not hate, but just like people talking down him.
Criticism. Like I mean. Like but again, people look at it at moments, right? But in that moment, I don't think that was just on Cerrillo, right? There was a lot of players that could have done better in that situation. But yeah, I mean, I think he was okay. But yeah, I mean, but in general, the midfield was okay. So let's talk about the offense now. You had Tyler Boyd, you had Billy Sharp, and then you had Diego Fagundes in there. So you had a little, maybe not how would I say this? Like, maybe not a little bit more firepower in the offense, because it's like, you just switched Costa and Fagundes from their spots, I guess. But yeah, I mean, of course, that was your offense for this game. And I mean, how'd you feel about it? What were your thoughts about that?
Yeah, pretty much a no-show. Outside of Douglas Costa's one individual chance where he scored off of, the offense really did nothing all game. I guess Billy Sharp kind of had a chance a little bit when Tyler Boyd crossed in, but other than that, like, that was just a half chance even. Other than that, the offense really did nothing. I mean, I kind of feel bad for Billy Sharp, because I don't think this is his fault necessarily, even though I don't think he played well, but we were just playing balls over the top to him, and he's a 37-year-old man. Like, you can't ask him at this point in his career to be like this sprinter over the top. He's never a fast player anyways, and I don't know why we're utilizing him that way. And Diego Fagundes, simply just not enough these last 2 games, or these last even handful of games. He's just not showing me enough right now. It doesn't look very good at the moment, and I think he definitely needs to pick it up a little bit. There was a stretch where he was playing kind of well with the Galaxy, but now it's just like it's not really coming together. And like we talked about, we kind of did mention that with our inconsistent players, they can be like that. And Tyler Boyd, I think he was okay. I think he tried to do some things, but honestly, like I don't think Tyler Boyd played bad. I think just Seattle's defender knew who played really good on him. I think he had an outstanding game just shutting down. So I think for Tyler Boyd's case, you have to credit the defender more than the attacker. But yeah, overall offense just kind of a no-show.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I think my issue with that too, with why it was a no-show, was I think the Galaxy played way too much through the middle than they did through the sides. And honestly, like I know this is going to be like a weird, like I guess, way to explain it, but obviously, NFL season started. The Seattle Seahawks already played in Lumen Field already. The way once football season starts, and especially for like places like Seattle, Atlanta, and like New England, the middle is very slow. Because like all the football players are in the middle, like the grasses and like the pellets of the field is like very rough, I guess, if you get what I'm getting. Like I know it's a weird way to explain it, but obviously the ball travels slower through the middle once football season starts in those places. So you gotta have to go through the sides. It's a lot better. You could probably get faster play out of it, and I think that's what the Galaxy was missing, was trying to play out wide instead through the middle, and I think they probably would have had better chances in that aspect. I know it was a weird way to explain that, but it is a legit thing you can take out of it. Like when it comes to these, NFL and MLS shared stadiums, right? Like it is going to be an issue once football season rolls around, and I think that's what the Galaxy didn't account for in those aspects. At least for me, like when it came to the offense, but individually when it came to players, Tyler Boyd was okay. Diego Fagundes didn't have that great of a game, and Billy Sharp didn't have that great of a game, but you can't really blame him just because the service he was getting just wasn't that great. So I agree with all those points as well.
Yeah, that was a very strange analogy, though. I've never heard that one before, ever.
No, I mean, it is a thing, though. Like, I forget where I heard it. I think someone also mentioned it, like, when, I think it was, like, a year ago or a year or two ago when New England were in the playoffs, and someone mentioned that, too. It was like, oh, yeah, like, you should really play, like, more out wide than through the middle, because, obviously, when these shared stadiums with NFL teams, the middle's just going to be more rough. It's going to be, because that's where like all the play is in football, right? Like it's not like a game where it's everything is spread out. You know what I'm getting? I don't know. It is a weird analogy. I'm not gonna lie. Probably not the best analogy to use in this, but like if people get what I'm trying to get at, like, well, thank you, I guess. But the point is, I'm just saying is like I think the Galaxy needed to play more out wide in this game, and I think they would have done a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, that was the offense. You have any other points with the offense or anything like that? All right, then. Let's see. Any final points for this game before we move on going in?
No, that's pretty much it. I think, we had a point in the bag. We were about to get it. One header away from a throw, and we get a point out of there. Honestly, it doesn't make a difference. No, not really, especially with how this game went this week, and I still don't think it would have made any difference. But still would have been a point in Seattle, would have been a valuable result, and the unbeaten run keeps going against Seattle, and it's pretty embarrassing, and we're going to have to wait at least another year for it to hopefully stop.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's getting ridiculous at this point. 2016, right, was the last time we beat Seattle. I mean, that's a long-ass time ago. Oh, away, yeah. I mean, but still, though, like, and also an MLS play, right? So it's like, because we did beat them in the Open Cup this week, or this year, but
we beat them in 2018 at home in MLS play, but that's our only win, yeah.
Did we?
3-0, yeah, I was there.
Oh, okay. Then I probably don't remember them. Yeah. Okay. But anyways, point is, we haven't beat them in Seattle since 2016. So, still though, something's got to change. We can't let Seattle keep owning us, and hopefully that happens soon, I guess. But anyways, I guess we can talk about Minnesota now, which again, I don't know if there's really much else to talk about Minnesota other than it was just a massive disappointment, right? We go into Minnesota, a lot of interesting headlines going into that game. Minnesota fire Adrian Heath, he the day before the game, so that happens. You also have a union strike, which causes the broadcasting to lose a lot of elements of the game. So there was a weird broadcast that we got for that game. Only one camera really for that entire game, and it just a lot of weird things going into that game. And yeah, I mean, other than that, the Galaxy just absolutely shit the bed. 5-2. Pookie gets 4 goals in that game and makes history for Minnesota. Just wasn't the night for the Galaxy, and yeah, that ends up being the dagger for our season. So yeah, I mean, honestly, how'd you feel about that one, man? I'm pretty sure you have a lot to say about this one.
I mean, is there really a lot to say though? I mean, first off, isn't it kind of crazy though when a hat trick isn't even the best performance a player had between these two teams this season? Like, just think about that. Billy Sharp scored a hat trick, and he has to go home and say, "I had the second best performance in this matchup this year." Like, that's just alone. It's just that must suck for him. But just as a team, I mean, you said it yourself. It was a complete disaster. Looks like we kind of just quit after a while, really. I mean, same mistakes over and over again. Whenever we concede the first goal, heads go down. We don't really fight back. And I know we got a goal back, but still, right before halftime, I talk about it every week. We make the same mistakes again. Conceding right at halftime, you're down. You're down going into the half. It looks like there's just no belief at that point. You know, we're down on the road. We only have 2 road wins all year, so everyone looked defeated. They looked like they were done. You know, it was a disaster. 5 goals. First time letting in 5 goals all season, I believe. And yeah, embarrassing. They got absolutely destroyed, and this is what they deserve. They don't deserve to make the playoffs, and there's a lot of changes that are needed. And I know a lot of people in the Galaxy community, I guess, only think the coach exists, but there's a lot more problems with this team than just the head coach, and there's a lot that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be a lot to be addressed this off season, but yeah, when it comes to this performance, just terrible. Like, I mean, again, this was the dagger, and it wasn't even a dagger. It was just full on, like, you got like stabbed 10 times because this was like, this is a bad performance in general. And yeah, I mean, honestly, this just tells you what the Galaxy was this season, and that they weren't a playoff team, and for many reasons, right? But yeah, this was the game where it just said, like, you know what, like, this is it. This is where the road ends. And yeah, I mean, honestly, Minnesota went into this game with a lot of things, right? Where one, they wanted to get revenge from that comeback. Two, I think they had a little bit of pressure relief from them because of Adrian Heath and him getting fired, the day before the game. So maybe they didn't have a lot of expectation. I think a lot of people didn't even have expectations, right, for Minnesota to perform that well, right? Even after, a head coach being fired 2 games or 3 games before the season ends, right? And them trying to make a playoff spot. So I think the pressure was relieved for them in some reason. And I think that's what made Minnesota the much better team. And obviously they have a lot of great pieces. Of course, Pookie just was on fire. You had Reynoso, and obviously just in general, like, the Minnesota just had that pressure relieved from them, and the Galaxy just had so much pressure going into that game, needing to win that game. And yeah, I think that was just the story of it, right? Of how mentally these teams are and where they're at in general in the season. And yeah, I mean, honestly, just terrible performance, and it's more than just the coach, right? So yeah, it was just terrible.
It's pretty embarrassing though, because just 3 days ago before that game, Minnesota lost 5-1, and then they come back and beat us 5-2. Like, that's really embarrassing. The fact that they put out a team that lost 5-1, and we can't even go there and take any sort of advantage, even make it a game, even make it close. The fact that you let it get that one side is just, it's extremely disappointing all around. I don't even know who to point out for that one. It's not acceptable, and it hasn't been for years, and we're always wondering when it might change, but it hasn't yet.
Yeah, it hasn't yet, definitely, for sure. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I don't think, yeah, you can put on one person in this team on this loss, right? It's really just a terrible team loss, and we've had a lot of those this season where it's just not one person, it's the whole team that just has a shit performance, and this was one of those that ultimately just finished our season. So yeah, I mean, of course, really not much to talk about because of that. It's just, I mean, it is what it is. And again, in a sense, you're kind of relieved at the fact that, like, we weren't going to make it in a sense. And, it was going to be tough to make it even if we won that game, because, you still had to win two more games. And, Greg Vanney hasn't won 3 straight games in his time at the Galaxy, right? So there was a lot of things against the Galaxy as well. So, I mean, you really didn't expect much. So in a sense, you're kind of relieved, but at the same time, you're just like, this isn't how you wanted to go out. You wanted to go out with at least somewhat of a fight. And, there was no fight at all in this game, like, nobody really had the effort. Nobody had that energy to go out and try to, at least be a decent team, right? And have a decent showing. But, at the end of the day, that's what it was. It was just, nobody had that energy. Nobody had that fight in them. And at the same time, you can't really blame the players about that either. It's just like, you just want to take it and just go, right? Like, I mean, at that point.
Well, no. If your season's still alive, you have to go out there and fight till the end.
No,
until you
but I
actually
mean
win it. I
like,
can't blame the players.
my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off entirely there, but I'm
No,
saying like, yeah, but what I mean is like, at some point in that game, like, that's when you were like, okay, like, once you're 3-1, 4-1 at that rate, the Galaxy are like, you know what, let's just pack it up and go home. I'm not saying going into that game, obviously I'm pretty sure they had.
like that.
I mean, they kind of did, but like, I'm pretty sure that in that game they wanted to win, try their best, but it just wasn't their day. And then at the end of it, you just had to say, you know what, that's just it. Like, there's nothing more we can do. So I guess that is what it is. But anyways, any other thoughts you want to talk about before we move into players? No? All right, let's move on into some players. So let's talk about the defense again. You had Bond, you had Edwards at left back. Your center backs were, I believe you still had Tony Alfaro in there. You had Yoshida in there, and then you had Leerdam, I think, starting again at right back for that matchup. I mean, let's be honest. Defense didn't play well. 5 goals. I mean, that just tells you the whole night, right? So, but again, what are your thoughts about it? How'd you feel about it?
Oh yeah, awesome, great. They really held it down, didn't they? Again, like just what a performance, right? No, not really, but just super disappointing, super bad. Minnesota played like prime Barcelona around us. These easy passes, we just couldn't deal with them. Any sort of cross, we couldn't deal with them. And you want to know what the scary part is? Minnesota scored 5 goals. That's an understatement. That doesn't tell how the game went. They seriously should have scored 7 or 8 goals if they were more clinical. 7 or 8, not even kidding. They could have scored that many, and just a complete disaster. Letting Pukki score 4 goals is embarrassing, really, and with any striker. But I don't know, man. I don't know. This defense needs to blow it up, and I'm concerned. Like, I'm really concerned. Like, I know a lot of Galaxy fans are looking forward to the offseason, but I'm still concerned for next year because there's a couple of guys still under contract that I don't want to be here anymore, and I've already told you who those guys are. But yeah, it's concerning. It's very concerning.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, just blow it up, right? Retool that entire defense. We got to find some way to like just not get these goals in. And yeah, I mean, honestly, 5 goals, man. Like that's terrible, man. And
Should have been more too.
Yeah, I mean, it really could have been more. Like it could have been one of those games where it was just a 7-2, maybe 8-2. It's like
They got Barcelona to 8-2.
I mean, really, it's just like, and again, they did this with their head coach being fired the day before, and the game before they got 5 goals scored on them. So it's like, it's just really unbelievable. I mean, you can't point anybody out in that defense. I'm not going to say who stood out to you because nobody did, right? Nobody did stood out to you in that aspect of, I don't know. It's just really bad, really terrible. 5 goals, I don't know.
Well, I will say this. Like, what did stand out? How did Julian Alden not start that game? I'm not saying if he started, he would have won, but how did he not start that game after the way he played? Like, how in the world?
I think he deserved it. Not that I think. He deserved it. I think that in that Seattle game, he played very well. And we talked about it earlier. We said that he had I think he was just better defensively, even had some good moments offensively. I think he would have been fine for this game. And again, having Julian Alden wasn't going to be the game changer. For all we know, maybe we could have got scored even more. Who knows? But point is, like, after that performance in Seattle, like, you'd think he would start again, but no, they went with Edwards, which again, he had a terrible game. Like, I mean, that man was just absolutely bad. Like, I don't think he had any good moments at all. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know why he didn't deserve to get that start. I mean, Tony Alfaro got the start again, so it's like, why didn't Aude get it? It's like, I don't know. It's like, really, I think that was the only bad decision making by Vanny was not starting Aude.
Yeah, and honestly, man, I'm tired of Raheem Edwards. I'm actually done with him as a starter. Just full time now. I'm tired. I've seen enough. All he does is dribble, and then turn over the ball and be caught out of position. He's a horrible one-on-one defender. He has horrible positioning. He's not very strong. He's not very quick. He can't even cross the ball that well. So, I mean, what is he offering at this point? Please, just stop. Let's move this club forward. Let's develop Aude and Caligari together, and let's build one of the best 1-2 dynamics in MLS. Like, I'm going to say it again. Starting Edwards is just denying the inevitable. He's not a starting caliber left back on a team that's trying to win or a team that wants to be competitive next season. We got to accept that and really have to make the change, and it's just never going to happen. And I don't understand why Edwards is still starting because I've had enough of it by now.
And again, I'd always like I'd not vouch for Edwards, but I'd always say like like at least he brings you something offensively, right? But in this game, he didn't bring you anything offensively either. Like he was just
Not
there.
this season though. I'd say it's been a bad season for Raheem Edwards, not just this game.
Well, I think he had some good games like in during the season, but in this game, I'm just saying
It's been more
like,
negatives though.
yeah, but I don't know. Like this game, he didn't really offer you that much, and I think again, like you needed to start out because he deserved it, right? Like I think you needed to put him in, and again, it maybe wouldn't have been the difference maker. Maybe he could have been the difference maker. Who knows? But like, still though, it was just one of those things where it's like he didn't really Raheem didn't really offer much, and yeah, I mean, again, it's sort of denying the inevitable. Start out and I hope you start him these next two games because we have nothing to play for other than pride. So start developing him now, going forward. But still, though, like I don't know. I think that was the only call where I looked at Vanny and said, yeah, that was a bad decision to start him.
Yeah, but I'm not just gonna blame Edwards though. The other like four guys too are all horrible. I can point out everything for those guys too. Like they all don't get a pass. They're all.
Oh no, yeah, no, definitely for sure. Like it's not like I said, it's not on Raheem, but like I'm just saying in that aspect, it was weird starting him. But I mean, of course, defense is just terrible. I mean, what more can you really say?
Honestly, too, like I've always kind of been on this guy's side, but Jonathan Bond, like I'm running out on him a little bit too. Like, maybe these next two games we start Mikovic again, and if he plays well, it's like I don't know if he comes back next season, he should really try to push for Bond's spot because Bond this season just I don't know. I know he had an injury like very early on, but like come on, that was in March. We're in October now. It's like. You got to get it together at this point, and he's not at all. Like even on the third goal, I think that was a super cheap one to let in. It was right at his near post, and it's like, dude, come on again against Minnesota. You land a cheap goal. It's like, I don't know. I'm starting to run out if Bonnie's not it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I think that is going to be a big question is goalkeeping, and of course you do have, I guess, of course Mikovic's loan is off this off season. I think Klinsmann is out of contract after this season, and. So, yeah, I mean, obviously goalkeeper is going to be a big question. And if Bond, his season has not been good and who do you go get a new goalkeeper? Do you bring back Mikovic? Do what's going to be the situation there? And, yeah, I mean, again, you're going to have to question, is Bond the guy? And again, you can say that he had an injury early on and maybe it did affect him this whole season. We don't know. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like I think the patience is running low on Bond and it's sad to see in a sense because Bond is a favorite, but at the same time, we can't always play favorites. We want to play people who are going to be difference makers and win you games, and Bond hasn't been that guy, right? He's not the guy who's been winning you games or been giving you these clutch moments that we've been seeing him do in the past, and this season he hasn't.
All right, last point about the defense, though. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think this might be the worst defense in LA Galaxy history this year. We'll have to go check back on that one, but I think it very well could be.
Wouldn't be surprised if it is. I mean,
okay, look, this is what I know for a fact. I know this year's defense already has more goals conceded than the 2018 and 2019 Galaxy defense with Rolf, Skelvik, Siani, Bingham, that team. And I know that team was one of the worst defenses in Galaxy history. So I think this year's team might be the worst defensive team in Galaxy history. I think there's a very good chance of that, but we have to go double check on that one.
We got to go double check that, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is
likely, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it really wouldn't be that likely. I mean, the fact that I said that I wasn't surprised that we were the worst defense in the league this season was was something, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if this was the worst Galaxy defense.
Isn't it strange though? Because it always felt like even early on we were like a really bad offensive team though. That was the main topic. We didn't have a number 9. We didn't have a winger. It's like everything was talked about offense like up until the summertime, and now it's like you can just talk about nothing but defense. And not only is this a really bad defense in the league this year, it's a historically bad MLS defense. Now it's like it's probably up there for the records of one of the worst defenses in league history. It's just kind of funny how the topic shifted so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of crazy. But again, I always say the defense has its reasons, right? I mean, again, the beginning was just not great in general with what you were dealing with outside of, outside the field, but also just in general once those injuries hit. And, I hate it when people say that it's like, oh, the injuries don't affect anything. It's like, they do. It's like, I mean, think about how many starters you lost in that defense this season.
There's two sides to it, in my opinion. Like, do the injuries affect it? Yes. If we had Caligari and Neal and Costas, would we be better? Yes. If all those guys were healthy, would we be a good defensive team? No. Do we need to go out and probably get a center back? And if MLS adds a fourth DP spot, get a DP center back? Yes. Like, there's two sides to it, really. I think it's fair.
Yeah, I mean it is fair, but at the same time, like I think we'd be in a much better spot if we did
Much
have,
better? No, maybe a
maybe
little
not.
better.
Well, much better is not saying much either. I mean, let's be realistic, but we would be much better to a certain extent if we had, some of those guys healthy, right? So it's like, there is two. I guess there is two sides of it, but I really don't think that like I mean compared to like the 2018, 2019 like defenses, right? It's like all those guys were your starters. Like all these guys right here. Like Leardam is not your starter. You're tossed up between either Auda or Edwards to be your starter. Yoshida is basically, although he came in like mid-season, like he's the only guy you can say is your starter, and then your other center back has been flipped, every game. So it's like realistically, you're not starting with a defense. You don't have your starting defense, right? So it's like,
It
that,
just
that
feels
that's
like
just the difference.
it just feels like Caligari is missing though. No, because the center back, even if Neil was healthy, I still think it's a massive toss up, right? Because Neil is still like very young and very undeveloped. So I don't know. I don't think it's a solidified position at all. I think Yoshida next season is solidified, but yeah, next season I think we need to bring in someone else because Yoshida called it out himself that he can't keep having a different partner every week, and I agree. It's been like this for years, and we need to get it fixed.
But that's the thing though. Neo is a toss up because it's his first season, but he would probably be starting the entire season, regardless of how he's been performing. Because I think the idea was develop Neo to hopefully become for next season or for the future to be a much better player, right? So it's like if Neil was healthy, he probably would have been starting no matter what. So I really think that was the difference. Like even if it was a toss up because he's a young player and it's his first MLS season as a starter and all that things. It's like I think he still would have been as a starter, right, and just been playing in general. So I don't know, but like again, like I think the difference between those past defenses and this one is that the past it was like that was your starting defenses, like, and there was really nothing else, right? This one will like you had like reasons why this was a bad defense. That's what I'm saying. Like whether you think it's a valid reason or not, there was reasons why this defense was bad.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm still just watching what I see, right?
That's true, right? I mean, yeah, and what we see is that it's a terrible defense. So I mean, there's no denying that, right? Like I'm not going to vouch for this defense and say that they're playing good, right? Like no,
Oh yeah,
they're
come back
bad.
next year. You're doing great.
Yeah, yeah, we'll work on it next year, boys. Let's get it going. Nah, but I mean, yeah, I mean, terrible defensive game just in general. So,
Season.
anyway, end season, yeah. So, but anyways, let's talk about the midfield. Midfield, I'm trying to think who you had. I'm pretty sure you had the same guys, right? You had Cerrillo, you had Rosell, and I think you had Costa being your middleman, right? So like your 10, I guess. So yeah, I mean that was the midfield in this game. How'd you feel about it? I mean, what were your thoughts?
Awful, really. You might as well just have put a stop sign in the midfield. Like they were not really doing anything in there. Like seriously, every one of them just truthfully awful. I mean, just Sadio turning over the ball, not really doing anything. Rosell, we kind of talked about his struggles, and he's continuing to struggle a lot. He can't really keep up anymore. I think he's starting to get worn down. And Douglas Costa, even like he had a great game in Seattle, but there against Minnesota, just not there at all. His crosses weren't it, his passes weren't it, and even in the beginning of the game where he had a chance to put us 1-0 up, it's like whenever the Galaxy score the first goal of the game, they are so much better compared to when they are trailing. He couldn't even do that. He hit it right at the keeper. So, just such a horrible game from the midfield. I think might have been the worst midfield game of the season. And yeah, obviously it's our full backup midfield. None of these guys are starting midfield players when fully healthy, so you don't expect them to be great. But yeah, midfield disaster really, just like the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, we got ran through like that midfield. Like I mean, like you said, you might as well just put a stop sign. Might as well put three pieces of log in there, and they'd probably do a better job. But no, I mean midfield was just it was bad. It wasn't good. I mean, again, wasn't good at all for this team. Anyways, I guess Costa had a garbage time assist, so I guess you had that going for him. And yeah, honestly, like that was weird because like for that one chance where he probably could have opened the scoring for us, like it's crazy because like he had a great first touch in Seattle, and then that one he had like a very heavy touch in that opportunity, and he didn't like score. So it's like, ah man, it's like how did you go from that and then to this one? Like you kind of messed up, and that was a perfect ball to him, and it was just the touch that messed him up. But yeah, I mean, of course, our midfield just got ran through like nothing, like Swiss cheese. Like I mean, just holes everywhere, and yeah, I mean, honestly, that was pretty bad. And again, and this is sort of like the thing that Zavaleta says, right? It's like it's not always defensive issue; it's everybody
Oh yeah,
in front.
so
Yeah, and it's always like what happens in front of you as well, and midfield just got ran through, so that's also another aspect to this game.
and guess who I'm gonna look at again? The one and only the LA Galaxy training and medical staff. Like remember, like Greg Vanney said after the Portland game, I think, or as an interview, like maybe at practice, I don't know which one it was, but he said like, I don't expect Ricky Puig to play against Seattle. He didn't exactly say this. I'm just kind of paraphrasing it, but he said like Ricky Puig in Seattle is probably not going to be available, but there's a very strong chance, or it's very likely he's going to play in Minnesota. And remember, you mentioned it before. Like, where do you think he gets this news from? Probably the LA Galaxy medical staff. It turns out Ricky Puig did not travel with the team, and he did not play. And same for Delgado, a guy that we really needed that game in. Yet again, you got to look at these guys. They're not getting players right. It's like, I mean, time to go, guys. Time to go for the entire medical team. Really, they have to go now. And yeah, very disappointing that Ricky Puig didn't play or Delgado. I seriously thought they were both going to be available, and Greg Vanney made it seem like they were going to be available, but nope, nowhere to be found.
Well, I mean, if Mark had a concussion protocol, that one makes that makes sense though. Somebody told me it was concussion. I don't.
Again,
I got to look it up again. I'm pretty sure it was. If it was concussion protocol, that does take a time. That you have to wait at least a week, maybe 10 days at most, depending to see how bad the concussion is. So I mean, honestly, like him not playing maybe wasn't as much of a shocker. But yeah, I mean, of course, the Ricky Puig thing. Like, I mean, again, and like you said, like I mentioned it before. Like how do you give this information to Vanny and say like, yeah, like he'll be ready to go for Saturday against Minnesota, and we were sort of expecting that, and then yeah, he didn't travel with the team, and I mean, again, it's like, I mean, I don't know, it's like again, this medical staff has been very bad this season. Just in general, I don't think we've really had a good
control, seriously.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, I mean, of course, we didn't have your best playmaker. You didn't have Delgado, who's basically an engine to the midfield, and yeah, I mean, of course, that resulted with our midfield just being Swiss cheese and just having holes everywhere. And yeah, I mean, we just couldn't get anything going. We just got ran through. So yeah, I mean, it's disappointing. And honestly, like, again, I think a lot of people did expect Ricky to play that game. And, I think we expected him to play that game, and, he didn't even go. So that's just like,
and look, I think players are starting to call out the medical staff and coaches in the press conference. I was listening to it a few days ago, and they were even saying, like Greg Vanney said, in Toronto, I only had one ACL injury my entire 7 years there, and he said we have 3 this year. And Tyler Boyd said, I couldn't imagine being on a team with this many injuries. I don't think you could find a team with this many injuries if you tried your hardest to. So I think the players and medical staff, not directly, but I think they're sort of sending a message to the medical staff and just the public, like, hey, this is ridiculous now. This is out of control. You guys aren't doing your job. This is insane. Like, how is this even happening? And yeah, it really is out of control with all the injuries. I don't know how this is happening when we don't play in CCL. We didn't play in many different competitions. We didn't go far in any competitions. We don't play in Texas heat or Florida humidity that would destroy your body. So I don't know, man. I think by the end of the season, this entire medical staff absolutely deserves to get released.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like there's got to be some change in that whole aspect of it.
Some change, a bunch of changes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's ridiculous. I don't think in with all my in any sport, I don't think I've really seen that many injuries on one single team. I mean, I guess the Angels came close this season, if I want to call that, but still though, it's like, I don't know. It's like it's very hard for having this many season-ending injuries, and I think that's the biggest aspect of it. It's like how many season-ending injuries, and then the amount of small lingering injuries throughout the season. So it's like, I don't know. It's like it's very tough to look anywhere else other than the medical staff. And again, I get it. Like, these guys aren't miracle workers. They don't have any.
I don't want to hear that right now. Come on, what?
I mean,
14
I'm just saying
this year and 6 season ending. We don't need to hear that anymore.
I mean, I'm just saying though. We're not professional medical trainers and stuff like that.
At this point,
I mean, we could be, but I mean, again, I tried being a major in that. I changed my path, so it's not like it's easy, right? So, again, I don't expect it through that aspect of it. I don't know what the life of a trainer is, but at the same time, it's like, where else can you look at it? There's really nowhere else you can look at it other than the medical staff and our trainers, and that's just where we can only look at it at that point.
not only it's a problem that we're getting these really long, big season-ending injuries, but it's also a problem that we can't get players right. Like we all thought Jalen Neal would be right after Leagues Cup. We thought Delgado would be right after Leagues Cup. We thought Pooch would be available eventually and be ready to come back into the team. And all of those guys, nowhere to be found. They're done for the season. So it's like, it's like on top of that, with the season-ending injuries, with all the other injuries these guys got, and Douglas Costa getting injured a lot, and other players getting injured too, time in and time out again. It's like, I mean, how could you not blame the medical staff at this point?
Yeah, I mean, there's like I said, like there's no other way to look around it.
What's crazy too is like last year it was perfect, our injuries. Like we had just Costa injured last year, I believe. That was it in 2022. Other than that, we were a fully healthy team, and I don't understand how it can go from such a perfect, healthy season to just catastrophe, really, just like that. I don't know how that could happen. Did we change some personnel? Because like it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, to be honest. I don't know what we changed, if we changed anything, or if we just got lucky last season. It could honestly just be we were just lucky last season. Like, that literally could be the reason why, like...
Even Chicharito didn't get injured last season.
Yeah, he did it. Like, and he's been kind of... I mean, he's had some injuring moments as well during his time, and, like, he was perfectly healthy, and... Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like, I don't know if we were just lucky last year. Like, it could have just been that.
I mean, there should be a balance, though. Like, obviously, like, next season, I'm not expecting to have, like, a 2022 type of season where it's, like, nobody gets injured, but I'm not expecting to have this again. Like, maybe you can find somewhere a little bit in the middle, to the left a little bit, where it's, like, you have a few injuries, some guys miss a little bit of time, but eventually, at the right time, everybody's going to get healthy and they'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. And same thing is, too, is, like, people's bodies are different as well. So it's, like, again, not trying to vouch for the medical staff. I think that it's been a problem this whole season, but like again, it's also depending on these people's bodies and how they recover as well too, right? So it's like I don't know, but again, though, it's the fact of the instances where we think that some players are going to be all right, and then at the end of the day, it's not. Like again, Brugman, we thought Greg Vanney was like, oh yeah, it's going to be a minor thing, and then ultimately it was season ending. Same like we just talked about Puig. It's like we thought he was going to be ready. He's not ready. And then, that misinformation just tells you a lot about our staff, right? So I think that's just where it's like where people are looking at it, right? So I don't know. A lot needs to change in that aspect. Hopefully things get changed and, we hire some better staff or, whatever the case may be. But anyways, let's move on to the offense because we still got a little bit of offense to talk about, which really wasn't much anyways. So, you had Tyler Boyd starting, you had Billy Sharp starting, and then you had Fagunda starting. What were your thoughts about the offense? I mean, really not much you could say about it, right?
Yeah, it was complete garbage, obviously. The only thing I'm going to say is I'm going to highlight one player. Tyler Boyd was the only player out of that entire team, starting lineup and subs, fighting for the badge and actually playing to win. That's it. Tyler Boyd was the only guy I'll actually give credit for really fighting, really putting in the effort, really putting in the work, going until the final whistle blew. He's the only guy that looked like that cared out there, and I'll give him credit for that. He's the only guy that really tried to make anything happen.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, he got a goal. So I mean, there was that as well.
It's
that
not
was
just the stats though. Like he was actually like running and trying to.
No, yeah, I agree though.
Plays like.
No, yeah, I agree
the
though.
only guy trying.
I agree though. I think he was the only guy that really tried in that game, and our offense just wasn't that great. You had Dejan also scoring in this game, getting a garbage time goal, Chris Paul style. Like just like again, like really nothing with the offense. Tyler Boyd was fighting for it, but at the same time, with everybody just being down and depleted, I don't think there was really much Tyler Boyd can do. Like it's just a one-man army at that point. But yeah, I mean, offense was terrible. Nothing much you can really say, and just like every other position, it was just a bad game overall, and there's really nothing much you can say about it.
I mean, this is the only thing I'll give Vanny right now. Like, a lot of people are complaining about, like, oh, Vanny's substitutes suck. Like, the subs always suck. Well, to be fair, like, all of the substitutes Vanny would be bringing on are right now starting for this team. So it's like you really can't do much in that department. But still, like, you expect better from all the guys on the field. You still do. I mean, you still can put a competitive product out there. And just this entire season, it has not been good enough.
Yeah, it hasn't been good enough on all aspects. And this game just really tells you everything, right? It just tells you how this season has gone and how... how the season ended, right? Just terrible showing from the Galaxy, and yeah, I mean, honestly, that was it. That was our season. Nothing more you can really say, and yeah, I mean, we just move on forward, and we play for pride at this rate for these next two games. But Yeah, I mean, any other final thoughts you want to talk about this game, or should we good to be move on? Move on. All right then. Yeah. So season ends officially, but we still got some games to play, and we'll talk about our upcoming game against RSL, which will be at home. One of the last home games of the season. We have this one, and then of course against Dallas, which will be the on decision day. But for RSL, this was supposed to be the game on hand. This was supposed to be the game where it could have meant something if the Galaxy got results this week, but now it doesn't mean anything for the Galaxy, and now it really just means something for RSL. They're going to be playing for seeding at this rate, and try to get as high up in the table as they possibly can, get home field advantage, whatever they can for the playoffs. And yeah, for the Galaxy, like I said, they're playing for pride, and I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about going into this game? What do you think is the mentality of the Galaxy going in this game? Are they going to go just a complete different lineup? Are they just going to try to keep their starters, or what starters we have left, or like? How do you think the Galaxy approach this game now that their season ends?
Yeah, complete different lineup. Why not? I mean, after that 5-2 Minnesota game, nobody deserves to start again besides Tyler Boyd. He's the only guy I'd bring back. I think you kind of have to bench these guys with the way they played last game, and you might as well start new guys. But honestly, though, I think, and I can't even blame the players. I think they're probably going to quit these next two games. I don't think they're going to play with much effort, and I don't expect much either because, how could you when you're not playing for anything? It kind of just feels like for everybody in terms of the fans, the players, you're kind of just showing up just to show up, just for work, just to get it out and leave a little bit. I mean, I'm going to go to the two games because I already have tickets for them, and I'm just going to close out the season. Might as well finish it off. But truthfully, from my perspective, I'm not going to care. If we score a goal, I'll hardly be cheering because it doesn't mean anything. If we concede, I won't really be upset. I won't really care because, again, it doesn't really mean anything. So and I think the players might have a similar mindset. They'll just kind of go through the motions, Don't play the guys that are getting injured. Don't play Ricky Puig. Don't play Delgado, obviously. Any other guys with any injuries, just don't bother playing them. Give the young guys an opportunity and, yeah, just finish it off, Maybe try to go into the offseason on a unbeaten streak of any sort. I guess that's a positive. But even then, my mindset on the season's not going to change. It's been a shit season. No matter what happens, I think we need changes. And, I'll be there. We'll see what happens. But it doesn't really mean much to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. In the aspect of I think they should try to do things differently, get some young guys some chances, see what they could offer at, potentially for next season and things like that. Just give them their minutes. But honestly, wouldn't be surprised if they win this game. In general, I think. Yeah, I know you said I think the players might have the mentality of that they're checked out, but I think also these players could have the mentality of just whatever's, we're playing for pride. We have no pressure. Just go out and play and do what you can. And I wouldn't be surprised if they win just for whatever's, hey, you know what? We play the game because we love this game and let's just go out and win.
No, man, I think they're going to be checked out, to be honest. And Salt Lake right now is playing for playoff seeding. They're in the playoffs right now. They're playing for a home game at least, maybe even multiple home games. So I think for Salt Lake, this is kind of a business trip for them. They should come in. They should take care of the Galaxy rather easily. Just put them away. The Galaxy are not going to make the playoffs. They don't have anything to play for besides just, their own fans in front of them. But even then, it looks like they're kind of checked out right now. And I can't blame them for being checked out. How are you supposed to get energy for a game? How are you supposed to play with effort when there's no reward at the end? You're just playing just to, just play, I guess. But I think these next two games, we're going to lose both of them. We're going to lose both of them rather comfortably. And honestly, I won't care because the season is what it is, and that's what it's going to be.
No, I mean, yeah, again, I agree in those aspects, right? It's they mean nothing at this point, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't.
Do you really think our reserve team though is going to beat Real Salt Lake, who's playing for something, and their starters? You really think they're going to do that? There's no way I can actually see that happening.
Well, again, it just depends on what they send out there. I think that if they do that, I think they should do that, right? Give guys like Johnny Perez, give guys Aguirre or whoever, a lot of these younger guys, just their chances, right? But the opportunities. But at the same time, it's again, that at this point you have no pressure on you. You don't. You're not fighting for the playoffs. You're just playing to, I guess for the love of the game. I'm just saying it throughout that aspect, right? It's I wouldn't be surprised if they win just for, and again, this is why I say for pride, right? It's you're just, at the end of the day, you're a soccer player. You're playing to win games, even if you're out of a playoff spot. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't be surprised that if they do win. If they don't, again, am I going to be mad? No, it's a loss doesn't matter anyways because we're out. So I'm just saying, if they win this game or they win against Dallas, it's again, it's just for pride. But
I think we should comfortably lose those games though. Like I think those two teams are playing for playoff position. Like I said, of Salt Lake, they're playing to get a home game, and Dallas right now is playing to get into the playoffs. So if they go with their full stars, give it everything they have, I think with the morale of this Galaxy team, knowing they're done, knowing they're defeated, knowing it hasn't been a good year at all, I think they should probably lose both of these games. I think Dallas and Real Salt Lake should go into these games knowing they should comfortably take care of business. And if they don't take care of business, like let's say Salt Lake loses to us and they don't get home field in the playoffs, or Dallas has the chance to make the playoffs on decision day and they miss the playoffs because they couldn't beat this Galaxy team that's already done, then I think that's massive disappointments for them more than anything really for us.
Which is why I say it, like, there's no pressure for the Galaxy. There's pressure for these teams because of what they need to play for,
well, there
right?
Is pressure. We just didn't meet it. Like, there was expectation to make the playoffs. There was sort of...
No, but I'm saying there's no pressure now. I'm saying there's no pressure now because we're already out.
No, because
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, why it wouldn't be surprising if the Galaxy, win because they have no pressure. RSL has pressure because they're trying to play for seeding.
I don't think they'll win, though. I think they're just...
I mean, no, I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying if they do win, there's, it's because they don't have anything going for them. Like, like I know, and again, I guess like that's what people are saying. It's like, if you don't got anything going for you, then you might as well just lose. But it's like, no, it's like they're just gonna go out and play like what they've played in the beginning, right? Like they've been playing this game since they were kids. It's just gonna be like a thing to just reminisce and feel the game, and that's it.
Well, it's a scrimmage, basically. It's like you're not playing.
Exactly. Don't you like playing scrimmages sometimes? It gives you the opportunity to just feel what you've been feeling when you were a kid or whatever, right? So it's like, at the same time, that's how this Galaxy team might feel. Maybe. Again, I don't know.
Here's the problem, though. It's like if we play Stars that game, are they really going to care? Because honestly, I think the Stars are burnt out now. We have so many injuries. We have such little depth now because of all those injuries. It's like if you play them these games, they're going to be super tired and they're not going to be motivated to give effort. And I can't blame them. Why would they be? We're out of the playoffs. They're not going to just give it their all like it's a must-win game or we're trying to fight for something. I mean, we're really not. There's no point in doing that. And if you play the young guys, like, yeah, you're going to get the fight, but you're not going to get the quality needed to win these games to beat these really good teams that are also going to give it their all, like Salt Lake and FC Dallas. So when it's the Galaxy reserve team giving it their all versus Salt Lake and FC Dallas first team giving it their all, it's like, who's going to win? Probably the first team just because they have more talent and experience alone. So, I mean, either way, if you play the Stars, they're not going to really try. They're going to be kind of burnt out. There's no point in caring. And if you play the reserves, the effort's going to be there, but the quality's not going to be there. So either way, I think Salt Lake and Dallas are going to comfortably take care of business. I think they should. If this Galaxy team puts up a fight, go into the year putting up a fight and just close it out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, again, it's like... do I think that RSL is going to win? Yeah, I think they will. I think Dallas will win as well, just because, like, again, they're fighting for something more. But I'm just saying, if the Galaxy do win, it's because they don't have the pressure on them. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I mean, what more can you do? Just go out and play, finish the season, and yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, just play for pride and then just go into the new season, hopefully. Have our hopes up for next year, but that's really much it, But, yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't have any of the points for RSL. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I'll ask you this question. If we score a goal, like, will you actually, care or cheer at all? Or, because usually when we score a goal at home, I'm always super excited. We're always super into it. But, at this point, you're just going to, maybe, give a golf clap. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, how could you really care that much?
No, I probably would not care as much, to be honest. I mean... Again, is it nice that they scored? Sure, but at the same time, it's like, yeah. I mean, again, it just like, the mentality of for the most part is that we're checked out, right? Like I'm pretty much checked out, and if we score, great. If we win, great, I guess. If we lose, also, whatever's. It's just like, I don't know. It's like, it's just it is what it is. Just meh. I guess I don't know. Don't really have much to say about it. But, yeah, I mean, anything else you want to say before we go, or is that it? That's it. But anyways, yeah, that's going to be it for the show. Can't thank you all enough for watching and listening. Go follow us on social media, at Insider Galaxy, at LA Galaxy Central. And, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We're playing for pride at this rate. If you go to a game, I guess have fun, even though they're probably not going to be that fun anyways. But, yeah, I mean, just, I don't know. I really have nothing else to say just because it's just like I'm checked out. But I don't know if you have any other things you want to say to the listeners before we go.
No, I guess, we have the chance to play spoiler. We can mess with Salt Lake's playoff seeding. We can possibly eliminate Dallas from playoff contention depending. So, I mean... just treat that as a playoff game. Just try to knock these teams off a little bit and just play just with effort. Go into the offseason on a positive note, and that's pretty much all we can do.
Yeah. I mean, just close it out strong, no matter what. And of course, we'll probably do another episode covering, or we're still going to do a couple more episodes, I guess. We got to cover this game and then also talk about the FC Dallas game and stuff like that. So, yeah, of course, we still got a couple episodes left. We'll talk about that. But, I mean, of course, thank you guys for listening regardless, wherever, be a friend, tell a friend about the podcast, whenever you're listening to this podcast. And hope you all have a great rest of your day, rest of your week. And, thank you guys. And cheese up.
7 words.